engage them early on before you even get to the venue. Ask them to bring something different. I love having a video I can send them in advance where I'm asking them to do something like that. That's my favorite way to go about it. So you can ask them a question, self-reflection, thought-provoking. You can ask them to send you questions, which you will then address in your presentation, or ask them to bring an item that once they get there, they will see why you asked them to bring that.
One of the things that struck me about what you said was attention is the new currency. We know folks have really short attention spans. So how have speakers needed to adapt to these new changes?
We know people love a story. When you see the audience zoning out, I tell my clients this: you cannot act like this is not happening. When I start to see a pattern of people looking like they're zoning out for whatever reason, I know that I need to do something different there. Maybe if there was a story that I was going to tell later on in that speech, I may decide to move that story up now.
We are back with BSN Free Speaker Game. If we haven't met, I'm Brian Oles, president and founder here at Black Speakers Network, and I'm joined with the one and only Roquita Johnson, Huntsville, Alabama, in the building. If you haven't met, she is a award-winning speaker, certified world-class speaking coach. Shout out Craig Valentine and that crew. #1 Amazon best-selling author of the book Speak Up, co-author, one of my prominent co-authors for the book Speak Up. If you haven't checked that out, be happy to get you a copy of that. I think I got a couple copies in the back, Roquita, for people, but welcome to Free Speaker Game. How are you?
I am great. I'm so excited to be speaking with my friend again. It's been way too long.
I know. You and I definitely go way back like car seats. You've been around Black Speakers Network pretty much since the beginning, and you've helped so many speakers in our community level up their presentation skills. So I'm excited to have this conversation. So Free Speaker Game, you know how it is. I want to just grab Roquita really quick because I hear you talking about a lot of amazing topics on social media, and I just wanted to make sure that folks had an opportunity to deepen the conversation around some of these things. And so one of the things that struck me about what you said was that, you know, attention is the new currency. In 2026 and beyond, we know folks have really short attention spans. So how have speakers needed to adapt to these new changes? I see that too, you know, speaking on a physical stage, it's kind of like everybody has their cell phone in their hands. Could be harder to kind of cut through that noise. So from your perspective, you know, what are you seeing, you and your clients, from that perspective, and how are folks kind of overcoming some of those issues?
Well, let me put it to you like this. So in addition to being a speaking coach and seeing what's happening out there in the speaking world and working with my clients, and I think I told you this, I also started teaching business classes late October at a high school. So as you can imagine, me also seeing firsthand the kids and the attention spans, it has definitely been an eye opener in that sense too. So I deal with that on a daily basis. People in our society, it's not just those adults, the kids, it's everybody. Why? Especially because a lot of us, we're watching the TikTok videos like our youth are. And I know that the science is saying a lot of things like that with technology is affecting how our attention span is now, which is why a lot of us find it so hard to even listen to something, to focus on it, just to not want to check your phone or do something else. So it's a lot of things out here. Technology is so great, but I know it's also been affecting our attention spans lately. But phones are not going anywhere. You're not going to tell a grown person in the audience really to put their phone away. Well, there are ways you can do that. I'll put it like that. But it's just recognizing that this is the world we live in and just finding ways to address that now, because is something you can't ignore. People have long attention spans. It's hard for them to sit through 60 minutes of something now unless you find ways to make that very appealing to them, which is the focus of our conversation today.
Yeah. Yeah, I knew you were teaching. I did not know that you were teaching high schoolers. And so I I don't know if K through 12, what is elementary, middle, or high school is better, but I imagine that high school has to be one of the more challenging audiences because they're teenagers. So I give all the love, respect. And in fact, if you're a teacher or if you're watching this and you know somebody's a teacher, maybe just drop them some flowers in the comments because listen, teachers are on the front line. And I know you don't always get the support of parents. You know, there's always this tension between like administration and trying to get students to do the right thing. And so we could probably have a whole separate topic just on like the K through 12 stuff, but certainly a great proving ground when it comes to adult education, professional development, speaking at conferences, seminars, and other opportunities like that. And so, yeah, I'm excited to dive into this conversation. Now, as you think about that, is there one tip or as speakers are preparing, so like let's say someone is just getting into speaking this year, or maybe they've been speaking before, or they haven't been on stage for a while, what's maybe one or two pieces of advice that you would give a new or someone re-emerging into the speaking realm in 2026 to help with that audience engagement, especially I get early on in the presentation, right? Like I can imagine like just it's one thing that in order to keep attention, you have to get it in the first place. So any advice there?
Yes, thank you for this question. So, a lot of speakers, when they think about, I have to get my audience members' attention, of course, they're going to think about how do I start this off in a way that is going to have all eyeballs, all ears on me. But really, you need to start getting their attention before you ever even hit that stage. So, once you sign that contract with the organizers, you've agreed to speak, it's go time. At that point, I am going to start thinking now about how I can engage this audience from afar, if you will. So, what I have done with some of my speaking engagements is I will create a video. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. I will do what we're doing now. I'll just get on Zoom, I'll hit record. The point is, I will give a quick introduction. Hi, my name is Roquita Johnson. I'm excited to be speaking to you all at, the company name on this date. We're going to be talking about, and then I will then approach it from one of three ways. I will tell them if you have any pressing questions that you would be interested in me addressing in particular during my speech, during my presentation, feel free to email me at. This helps me to know what exactly are the most important questions on their mind. Clearly, I'm an expert on my topic. I've done the research. I have a lot of education, a lot of information that I'm going to be giving them. But what are some things that I may not have thought of? I don't know every single thing. So it will help me, and it's going to help them to know, oh, this speaker actually cares. If they know they can send me questions that I might answer during it, there's going to be a bigger likelihood that they're going to be more excited to attend that presentation because I will have answered your question. There's a chance I would have. Secondly, another way that I can approach that video, and the whole point of this video is to get them excited about me coming to speak to them, to generate some buzz. Clearly, I want them to attend. So after me asking them a question, another way I might approach it is, again, after I'm introducing myself, letting them know I'm excited to come speak to them, I might pose a question at them. This is a question, something thought-provoking that I want them to be thinking about in preparation for me coming to speak to them.
Like a self-reflection question?
self self reflection. It's not a closed end question. Let me put it like that. Nothing yes or no.
Got it.
I don't even do that with my students because kids, yes, no, we're gonna think
Facts.
about this a little bit more. So
Yep.
it's gonna be some type of self-reflection or just a thought-provoking question in general, something related to what I will be talking about. I want them to think about that question because it's usually what I will first start off with. I'll address that question that I asked them when I'm there speaking to them. But it gets the wheels turning in your mind about what you will be talking about. The third way
Mm.
you can have your call to action in your video, if you do decide not to ask them a question, if you are not going to ask them to send you any questions, another great action that I like to take in that early engagement video is to have them to do something that seems a little unconventional or piques their curiosity. Here's what I mean. I might say to them, again, this is after I've introduced myself and told them I'm excited to come see them. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to bring something from your kitchen junk drawer. I want you to bring that item to the presentation on Friday, whenever I'm going to speak to you. Find something in your kitchen junk drawer, bring that item to the presentation with you.
Okay. I like that.
Going to go into much more detail about that. They just need to know that it does pertain to the topic. It does pertain to what we will be talking about. This is just not something random or arbitrary. But again, it makes them curious, like, why am I bringing something from my kitchen junk drawer? Because we all have something in our kitchen junk drawer. I know we have stuff in there, stuff we put away, we don't want people to know. So I want them to bring something like that. And let me give you an example of where I'm going with that example about the kitchen junk drawer. So let's say it's the day of the speech, they brought their item. The main message of my presentation or the premise will be, we hold on to things longer than we should.
Mm.
We hold on to things longer than we should.
Facts.
And we do that with the kitchen junk drawer. There are things in there, yes, we may need. We just didn't know where to place them. A lot of times stuff is in there we haven't looked at in probably like 6 months. It's just there. Do you even still need it anymore? Why are you still holding on to it? So that lends itself to a bigger conversation, probably psychological, I would say, about why we hold on to things that probably don't even serve us anymore. In this
Mm-hmm.
case, can you give the item away? Do you need to throw it away? Why are you holding on to this? So you see where I'm going? I'll
Yes.
ask them to bring something physical to the presentation, but it does have something to do with what I will be talking about. But there's something powerful about having something tangible there that connects them to what I will be talking about. And you'll get a chuckle out of it, something like that. It's like, yeah, why am I holding on to this? Why do I have 5 cords in my kitchen drawer? I don't even know what these things go to. Because we all do it. We got electronic cords in the kitchen drawer, junk drawer. We don't know where these cords go to, but we can't throw them away because we feel like we're going to use these cords. And those items have been obsolete for like 8 years now, but we're still holding on to the cords. So
Yeah, charger, iPhone 1 chargers, little yeah,
yes,
it gets embarrassing.
it's
I
very
think
embarrassing.
I think by, if I were to go over, I'm like glancing over at my kitchen now. I think if I were to go over into my kitchen, like some of the most embarrassing things would be like a deeply unnecessary amount of soy sauce packets. Um, we got some chopsticks that, you know, I use a spoon. Like I'm not using chopsticks unless I'm forced to, or a fork. And then like, yeah, the random other drawers that have the stuff. So I think that's a cool take. Like you and speaking a lot of times, you know, and you and I both come from the Toastmasters. Like we were trained through Toastmasters and then, you know, went through this professional speaking route. And in Toastmasters, we talk a lot about visual aids, using props, being able to uh, bring in physical elements to, again, hold attention as well as to be able to punctuate a specific point. Visual elements, a lot of speakers, you know, sometimes may not know what to bring, but having the audience bring the prop, you are automatically feeling a sense of connectivity to this. um you're already feeling a sense of connectivity to the presentation. It feels like an activity, and it's a like an open loop. Like you are coming into this like, you know, what am I, why am I bringing these chopsticks in here? And so instantly you got their attention right away because they are now trying to answer this question. And even once, by the time the question is answered, you now have them hooked and you can kind of reel them in. I think that's brilliant. That was brilliant.
And if you notice, it doesn't take a lot. It's nothing expensive that they have to go out and buy. These are things that they already have in your home. Whatever you're asking them to bring, ideally should be something that they already have, unless maybe it's something small and inexpensive you're asking them to bring. I don't know, like candy, if candy pertains to what you're going to be talking about. But absolutely, the brain loves novelty. That's why I do like that particular angle, asking people to bring something, because it sparks that curiosity factor.
Mm-hmm.
The science says we love novelty. People will pay attention to something that's different, that's out of the ordinary. So just something like that, ask them to bring something different. You know, I love having a video I can send them in advance where I'm asking them to do something like that. That's my favorite way to go about it. So you can ask them a question, self-reflection, thought-provoking. You can ask them to send you questions, which you will then address in your presentation, or ask them to bring an item that once they get there, they will see why you asked them to bring that. So that's what I mean by engage them early on before you even get to the venue. Do it from afar, like 3 to 5 days in advance, I would say, because you don't want to do it too far out. 3 to 5 days or so before you have to speak to them. That's enough time for them to do whatever it is that you're asking them to do.
A lot of time in Black Speaks Network, I often kind of get into these conversations, and I don't have an exact percentage, but I believe that as a public speaker, professional speaker, a trainer, a keynoter, you're spending you're as a percentage of the total amount of time that you are working to do everything associated with that presentation. I feel like you're probably only spending about 10 to 15% of your time on stage. And that's why I'm happy that you're talking about this now, because I feel like so much work and planning and strategy and communication and logistics happens before you get on that stage and then after you get on the stage, because even after, you're collecting feedback, you're trying to refine your presentation, you're capturing testimonials, whatever. um but most people only see what happens on stage. It's like a boxing match, you know, that those two fighters could have been training for 18 months leading up to that. You don't see the practices, you don't see the drills and everything, you just see the finished product. And so would you agree with that, like that percentage, that 10 to 15%? Because like you're talking about work that's happening before you even get on that stage, but it is going to impact how you show up on that stage.
Yes, I definitely agree with you. The audience is only seeing a small portion of the work that you have put in. And maybe even some of the organizers, I would probably throw them in here too, who hired you. They don't necessarily see everything that you have put into to make this a worthwhile, impactful event for them, which, not to go off on a tangent here, But this is why when you have your contract, you need to spell this out. I do this in my contracts just so everybody's we're on the same page. We're clear about the work that is going into this. I list out, okay, this includes the pre-work that I'm doing, research, putting this together, literally any calls that I'm going to have with the organizers, because there are going to be some calls that we are going to have. This includes the actual presentation, the speech when I'm there delivering it, whether it's 15 minutes, whether it's 30 minutes, an hour, a 2-hour workshop, whatever. And this includes the work after that. This includes, like you said, collecting the feedback. This is the testimonials. This is all the work that is involved with giving, with your speaking engagement. There's a lot of work involved, and I like to spell that out because sometimes the organizers may not realize that, but once they do see the value of it, I find it's less work to have somebody get on board to understand why you charge what you charge. Like, yes, it's the value that I bring. It's my years of education and knowledge on this topic, but it is also the work that I am putting in for every speaking engagement. Every engagement is different. Even if the topic is something I may have spoken about for another client, no two engagements are exactly the same. Why? Because the audience is different. Number one, every speaker knows the audience is the first thing you need to think about. Once you understand who your audience is, that's going to help you to know how you need to go forward with this presentation. How am I going to make this different? How do I make this tailored for them? I'm always thinking about them. Always. So the work that I'm doing before I ever get on stage, I'm researching who these people are. I may be sending out surveys or some type of questionnaire. I'm having the calls with the people at the company who are close to the audience. Let's just say it's the employees, the higher ups, the C-suite, or HR, if that's them. I need to have meetings with them to get more insight on the audience because they need to feel like I am speaking directly to them because I am. So for you new speakers out there, make sure you include all of that in your contract so they know exactly what the monetary value that you're putting on this. It does include all of that. I remember I had
It's invisible work.
Say that again?
Invisible work.
It's a lot. Yeah, that work. They're just seeing one part of it. They think it's just a stage. No. It's everything that goes before it and after. I remember like recently I had somebody who was thinking about having me do a workshop. It's like going to be an hour or so for her group. And she had in the past had other people, public speaking experts, come and do this workshop. Apparently my price was way above what she was used to paying for these people.
Good.
And I remember on one of our last, notice I said last, one of our last conversations, this is a text message she sent me, and she said, what you're charging, it's wildly out of budget. Now, it's one thing for her to say, this is out of our budget. The fact she said, this is wildly out of our budget, there was a connotation there. And I'm
like you are pricing yourself outside of what should be reasonable in this situation.
Exactly. In other words, like, you're bugging. Why are you even charging something like this? Exactly. And then even in that message she sent me, she said, yeah, that's wildly out of budget. And she said a few more things, but then she left off with, I would just be curious about what this entails. In other words, the workshop, what it would even entail to justify that cost. So I'm thinking about how to answer this. And then finally, I said in the most diplomatic way to her, I said a few things, but then to answer her question, I said, honestly, I don't even think that even if I did give you the breakdown, told you all of what this entails, somehow I don't think that that would change your mind about hiring me anyway. And I never heard from her again. So I do believe that I was right. And you know what? That's fine. There are going to be people who are not going to be able to afford you.
Yeah,
There's a lane for everybody. I don't take offense to that.
and you should. And like, I don't think if you wanted a hamburger, like you could go buy a pack of ground beef for like, I don't know, ground beef is really expensive now. That's part of my gripes. But you go buy a pack of ground beef, or assume like $10, and maybe make up a bunch of hamburgers, maybe like 6 hamburgers for the week. And you now the cost of that hamburger drops down to maybe like $2. Or you could run up to Wendy's, McDonald's, something Burger King kind of tier, and get, maybe 2 hamburgers for like $5 or whatever the deal is. Or you can go up to the next level and you'd be like, yeah, I really want like an elevated burger, like not crazy, like, but I just want like a premium experience. So you're hitting like a Five Guys or a Shake Shack or whatever. And then if you're like, no, like I want like one of the best burgers imaginable, I'm going to go to like one of those steakhouses or something like that and get like a premium Wagyu
Yep.
2-pounder joint, and it's going to be like very expensive. But you can't walk into that Wagyu place and demand Wendy's prices. Like, you're in the wrong thing, and that's okay. So, but I do agree with you. You should never be trying to. I think there's a difference between like providing clients with like a little bit of additional information versus trying to wholesale justify, like, you're fishing in the wrong pond when you get certain type of feedback. We only got a few minutes, so I do want to ask you like one other important point. Obviously, we're going to be bringing you back probably multiple times to dissect different parts of this conversation. But since we're talking about keeping audience's attention, and we have like a real life high school teacher, which I think you're the most qualified person in America to talk about this topic. Let's say you did all of that stuff, right? So you set up your presentation, you did the pre-work, you get there, you got your audience's attention, but like, again, maybe let's say like around like the 10-minute mark, you notice, wandering. Like, sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. In a smaller environment, I'm sure, like I always felt like it was easier to talk to like workshop style, maybe 10, 20 people. It's easier to kind of have that when I'm like, hey, Jonathan, Danielle, like, I'm able to directly look at people's eyes, versus maybe if you're talking to like 50 or 100 people, the larger audience size could be a little bit more challenging to do activities or things like that to kind of keep those larger audiences engaged. But regardless, any high level advice for audiences who may start to tune out, or how to structure your presentation in a way to maybe proactively prevent that energy dip?
Yeah, this is a great question. So I remember seeing this, I don't know, not a statistic, but it was something I was reading about audience attention. And it said that on average, audience members, 8 to 10 minutes, 8 to 10 minutes, they will give you their attention. About that point, they will start to drift off.
Think about what's in the oven.
Go in another direction. I'm sorry, what'd you say?
Oh, I was just, thinking about what's in the oven, thinking about like what I gotta do later. Did I lock my car?
Yeah,
Whatever.
exactly. 8 to 10 minutes, they're pretty good about giving you their attention, but around that mark, they're going to start, thinking about other things. So that is something for you to think about as a speaker. Now, unless you are a professor, you're doing a lecture, which I think we know what those are, and we kind of expect those to be a little bit different. But if you are a speaker, speaking like 30 minutes straight, definitely not 60 minutes straight, you have to figure out ways to break that up. So if we know that the research out there is saying after 8 to 10 minutes, people are going to start to lose attention, then we have to think about what are some other tactics that we can use at that point to keep their attention. And let me also just say this, because I think it is important, Brian.
Okay.
Just because the audience loses attention, it's not necessarily because of you, the speaker. Sometimes we forget that the audience members are human too. They are going through real life things. The economy could be weighing heavily on their minds. Maybe they're worried about the company laying off people. Are they worried about a sick child or a sick parent paying rent this month? Whatever, their health. So the audience members do have their own challenges that they are thinking about. So even if they're like the most attentive audience member and they're trying to focus on what you are saying, but they have those things in their real life that are starting to get louder and louder in their head, it's natural. So we got to remember they're human beings too. What I look for as a speaker, I like to look for patterns, is what it is. So if I see a lot of people starting to look like they're zoning out and not paying attention to whatever I'm doing for some reason, then I definitely know I need to change it up and do something a little different there. So I just wanted to say that. But to get back to your point,
Actually,
10 minutes.
that's a bar. You get the bar pillow, because that's important. Like remembering that your audience is human and they're dealing with human stuff. Like that level of empathy, I think, is good.
I know I've done it. I'm keeping it real, Brian. And it's not, they were the most interesting speaker. A lot of examples I can think of. It was just something pressing on my mind at the moment. But, I really try my best to lock in and focus on what they're saying. But I have those moments I just go out for a minute or two, but I come back. But yes, after 8 to 10 minutes, so think about what we can do. People are only going to sit there and listen to you for so long. So can you actually maybe have them do something hands-on? Is there something that they would need to do with their hands? Now, we know that there's the research out there, even with kids who have ADHD, they will have those fidget toys. It's something to help keep them focused. Same thing, there's something about touch. So even if you have to give people a break, maybe have them do something with their hands. Maybe it's not exactly holding something, but they're doing something with their hands. A break, if you will, a break in what you are saying. Sometimes I like to have people do something it's a little activity. It's called dancing fingers. So you need to work with your AV team to make sure you have the music for this. Let's just say you want to use Pharrell's Happy. I like to use that as an example because that's just a good upbeat song. Have people, the point is, you don't stand up, you're going to dance with your fingers, literally. This works whether you're having an in-person audience or you have a virtual audience. Have them do some type of dance movements to the beat. It's just something to break up whatever may be going on in your mind. But happy fingers. And
Yeah.
it was like a quick little presentation I went to, and they were teaching about ways to keep the audience engaged. And I thought this was so fun. So that I give them credit. I forget the name of the organization, but this is something I learned from them, and it is excellent. But also, go ahead.
Okay. No, go ahead.
Also, Brian, something as simple as when you see the people losing attention, okay, I know that I've been speaking for a bit on this topic now. Let me ask you, what questions do you have for me? Question is one of the most simple ways that you can break up what you've been doing to get their attention back. Because a lot of times there's somebody who has the question. And guess what? If they don't, I will have a question prepared for them. Okay, well, let me ask you this. It's a good way to test to see if they were paying attention. There's always somebody who likes to answer. If there's that adult in the audience who was that kid in school who liked to raise their hand and answer, that adult is going to be in your audience. So I will just ask them a question. That brings their attention back as well. But also, if you're speaking, Brian, and you are losing your attention, I like to use this analogy. If you are driving down a road and let's just say there's there's like a mountain surface. I don't know, maybe if you live in that area where it's like mountainous, but you're driving around, and even if it's a regular street, and you see that sign that says danger ahead or potential falling rocks ahead, what are you going to do? What are you not going to do? Let me ask you. What are you not going to do?
I'm not going to. I'm probably going to turn around, honestly. Like,
You're not going to keep going in the same direction. Exactly, yes. Is my point. And it's the same thing when you see the audience zoning out. I tell my clients this: you cannot act like this is not happening. Again, I'm not looking so much at one or two people. It's when I start to see a pattern of people looking like they're zoning out for whatever reason, I know that I need to do something different there. So in a case like that, I'm going to stop speaking at that point where I am. Ask the question, ask them to ask you a question, but also maybe if there was a story that I was going to tell later on in that speech, I may decide to move that story up now. I'm going to try to finesse it in a way that it seems natural that I brought the story in at that earlier point, but I'll tell that story earlier. Why? Because we know people love a story.
Yes.
People love stories since time immemorial. People will perk up from you merely speaking about something to you now telling a story. There's something in us that makes us tune in. Stories teach us lessons. They're also entertaining. You give a lot of details. We learn about characters. We hear conversations, the dialogue and story. So move that story up if you have to. If you were going to do an interesting demonstration later, something again that pertained to the rest of your speech, are you able to move that demonstration up a little earlier now? Here's my point: be flexible. And I know that this takes, again, a little finesse. The more you speak, the better you will get at being able to shift things around. But you have to be of that mindset that if I need to shift something around because I'm seeing that the audience is not as engaged for whatever reason, then I'm going to move something around in my speech. Brian, I'll tell you some other things, little quick things that are effective for bringing people back. Silence. And especially as a teacher, I know this works. If I'm talking and I see there are a bunch of side conversations going on, I stand right at the front of the room and I get real quiet.
And like, what is about to happen? Like, what's going on? And I was like, yeah, the side, that it breaks up for people who are talking. When they start hearing only their voice and they know they're not supposed to be the ones that are talking, it creates like that psychological peer pressure of, oh, I guess everybody's waiting on me to wrap up my conversation so we can continue.
There's something about silence. Exactly just what you said. They start noticing something is different here and I'm not hearing any other
You hit them with the silence and the eye contact?
Silence and eye contact. Silence is so effective and I feel like it's underutilized. I saw a speaker do this many years ago at a Toastmasters conference, a district conference, and these are adults. The audience just would not quiet down. And it was after lunch, Brian. You know, sometimes it can be hard to rein in an audience who's just eating lunch and you're the next person up that they hear. That's even harder for a speaker. Go ahead.
I still use the you can hear the sound of my voice clap twice. You hear the sound of my voice clap twice. And I've never had to do that more than 4 times. I've done that in ballrooms with like 5,000 people and everybody like clapped twice. They're like, oh, That's I have never had an issue getting attention. Now you still got to keep it to your point, but
Yep.
I think that's came
I,
from the classroom, right?
a lot of teachers do it. Exactly. Especially elementary teachers. Exactly. They'll do that. My point is, it doesn't take a whole bunch of elaborate tricks to try to get people's attention back. It's just whatever you're doing, can you do something different? Think of it that way. Just can you do something different? Silence is effective because people will eventually stop talking. Their attention will gravitate to you, the speaker who's the focal point. Sometimes just saying, hey, let's just stand up. Let's just stand up. Again, have the DJ play some music, have them shake it out. Sometimes if people have been sitting so long, they might just need to stand up and just move their bodies a little. That can just get them back in the groove of being there with you in the room. Tell them we're gonna take a bathroom break. Take your bathroom break. If you don't gotta go to the bathroom, make your phone calls. I know you want to call and check up on your child. I know you want to send that text message. I know you're dying to check that work email. I'm just calling out what I know they want to do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you just need to just do that. Again, it depends on the situation. Maybe you don't have the luxury of just saying we're gonna take a quick 5-minute break, make your phone calls, go to the bathroom. What else can you do? Always have some type of contingency plan, but you don't want to just keep going on and ignoring it, acting like everything is okay here. It's not if I see a bunch of people who are zoned out.
Yeah. And then if you don't address it, then it becomes a thing where, because the people in the audience who are trying to learn at a certain point, they'll just start checking out too, or just join the disruption. So all great points. We are out overtime, but I did want to make sure we had an opportunity to get through some of these additional points because it's so good. I told you, like, free speaker game. You can see why Roquita is one of the most respected coaches here in the Black Speakers Network community. And before we wrap, Roquita, I know that you are still like working with clients. You are working with speakers. You also, if you're not following Roquita on the socials, I'm going to drop all of her links down below. Make sure that you go follow her. You're always giving great public speaking tips, tools, best practices, techniques, little hacks, if you will, before you go on stage. And so if you're preparing for a presentation, I would recommend binge watching some of Roquita's TikToks just to kind of get you in the mindset to get some tips or tricks that you can add in. Because a lot of that stuff is, if you already are a strong speaker, sometimes it's just refining it. But for us, Roquita, for anybody watching this right now that may be thinking like, oh man, I might want to work with you or reach out, like who are some of the speakers that you enjoy working with most, or when should folks be thinking about reaching out to you if they want to get more information about speaker coaching or just, preparing for their next big presentations?
Yes, I've worked with a variety of speakers, but the ones that I really love working with, and apparently there's something about me that they must like as well, because a lot of them gravitate to me. People who are career professionals a lot, or maybe they are the CEO of the company. Sometimes people think CEOs don't need any speaking training. They've made it that far. They got it all together. You would not believe I do get CEOs. I have clients who are doctors. They wanted to be able to communicate better, and some of them wanted to be professional speakers to talk more about their expertise. So if you are a business owner, if you are a career professional who's like, hey, I need to keep my job. I need to bone up on my skills and be more comfortable with public speaking, because that's why I got into public speaking years ago. I was not comfortable with it. These are the people that I especially love working with. It might be anything from I need to get better with impromptu speaking, because a lot of us have those situations a lot more than professional speaking opportunities if we're keeping it real. You have to be able to speak easily off the cuff. If you are on a panel, you don't always know the questions they're going to ask you. If you're being interviewed or you're on a podcast, you don't necessarily know what they're going to ask you, but you want to be prepared. You want to be articulate. You want to be comfortable. So those are all situations that I can help you with. Of course, along with getting your big presentation together. So let's work together.
I love it. Awesome, awesome. Y'all make sure you connect with Roquita. And Roquita, thank you so much for joining us on Free Speaker Game. Got to have you back. I
Yes.
get soon to get into some more of these topics, but thank you so much. And as we say here, Black Speakers Network, keep speaking up because your audience awaits. Y'all make sure y'all stay on top of that preparation before you get on stage, keeping that audience attention once you're there, and having those game plans. You're giving us so many tools, so many. I think of them like arrows, like Hawkeye and Marvel, like having arrows that you could pull out for different situations and circumstances to make sure that you're able to do those, and you'll be far ahead of some of the other speakers. So thank you for dropping these gems, Roquita, and we'll talk to you soon.